You're tuned in and locked on. Gay News Radio with Brandon Carmody. Only on the GNR Radio Network.
You're listening to Gay News Radio. I'm Brandon Carmody here with Debra Porta, and you are the
Sponsorship Coordinator and Advisor to the Board of Directors for Pride Northwest.
And former president.
And former board president, yes.
Well, we appreciate you being on today. So this is it. This is Pride. We're here. This is Saturday.
This is Saturday, Pride weekend. It's been busy all day. We've had a couple of rain showers, and that hasn't dampened anything at all.
When you went to plan for this year, aside from the events in Orlando, which were very recent, was there anything different about this year, or do you always take a lot of the same factors into account every year when you're pre-planning Pride?
Well, as far as the festival goes, yes. I mean, there's lots of differences. First of all, I stepped down as president of the board. So along with planning this event, planning the logistics and all of that, we've also been building a new board. A new leadership, and they've been learning the ropes as they go.
Right. Well, that's good. That's good. Sometimes, I mean, I first played Pride myself in 2003, so I mean, it's like, I can't be in the entertainment every year. I'd like to try it again next year.
Sure.
So let's talk about Orlando and how that affects the LGBT community. First of all, how did you take it when you first heard the news, and what are your friends and your colleagues telling you about their emotions and their thoughts on Orlando?
Well, I first heard about Orlando in the middle of the night with the BBC report. I just happened to wake up and look at the news. And so I knew it was going to be bad, but I didn't know how bad. And then the next morning, I woke up, started looking at the updates, and my phone started ringing off the hook. Basically, have you seen this? Have you seen this? We have to do something. And then I'm calling people, we have to do something. And there was a lot of shock, a lot of, especially in the first few days, a lot of, we're not even sure how we're supposed to feel right now.
Yes.
There's so much in this community, there's so many people in our community that have not experienced that kind of shock in their lives and that kind of loss. When I look at myself, I am almost 50 years old, so I lived through and came through the HIV crisis, the 80s, the 90s,
okay.
The loss, some of the Measure 9s, battles
Sure.
in the South. And we have a lot of people in our community that haven't done that. And so to be...
You're talking about millennials
yes,
or even queer youth?
Right, exactly. And they don't have anything to compare it to. They've never not felt, on some level at least, pretty safe. And so there's a lot of fear right now. There's a lot of I call it freak out, but kind of.
There are a lot of people right now, they're telling us they feel unsafe. One person we interviewed at the vigil at the Q Center the other night had just immigrated to this country to fear a lot of persecution and things that were happening in her native country, to come to America and now fear gun violence. But I want to ask you if there's any positives from this. Just if you look at all the murals on the wall inside of the Q Center, and you see Stonewall and all these events from Harvey Milk through Ellen DeGeneres that brought us kind of where we are today, almost 1 year from the Supreme Court decision. Could this be a coming together moment, once we get past the grief and kind of past the shock of Orlando? Because there have been vigils across the country, across the world, monuments lit up. That's very unusual for me to see the news with so much color right now, or rainbow color. So,
exactly. I think that's already happening. I think that Orlando is galvanizing our community in a way that it hasn't been in a long time. We can disagree and we can fight and we have our divisions and we have our separate communities, but as a whole, all of us came under attack. And so that has really, for a lot of people in my conversations that I'm having, reminded folks that we do actually need to stick together. We do actually need to find strength and community in each other and figure out how to take ourselves to the next level and how to move, not necessarily move forward as a single block because we're not all the same, but to be able to really prioritize what unites us and to work for that and to be energized and to do that work, because I think we got pretty comfortable for a while.
Yeah.
and that is what's changed. That's what I feel that's different at this point. We'll see if we can maintain it. I know that there's a lot of work happening in the community to work to maintain the energy that's out there right now, because that's where we tend to lose it, is things die down, we get comfortable, we kind of forget. And I don't think this is one of those things that we're going to do that around.
I want to ask you about the transgender community. I was at the Portland Trans Pride rally before the march. My battery actually died, so I didn't get the march, but I got the rally. There was some incredible speakers there, but everything from unemployment to the gender disparity, outright homophobia in the workplace, and the disparity between unions, non-unions. Right. Do you, first of all, agree that they are still the most marginalized bit of our LGBT group, and that some of the work that needs to be done there needs to happen with transgender specifically, as far as nationwide employment, discrimination laws?
Absolutely. That's never not been something that needed to be worked on. And the thing that's changing is, I was having a conversation about this with someone else earlier today, along with hopefully more of an awakening within the LGBT, the queer community as a whole, about trans-specific issues and the marginalization that that community endures, that we're changing who we are and how we relate and how we advocate. But the trans community itself is finding its voice. And so those two things together are bringing the issues up to the surface that used to be, quite honestly, pretty easy to ignore by folks with privilege. And we can't do that anymore.
Do you think that it's helpful for there to be some celebrity recognition in the transgender? Like Laverne Cox has a huge stint going on Orange is the New Black. You know, you got Janet Mock with a show on MSNBC. Do you think that helps to sort of normalize it as far as having celebrities, with so much recognition?
Sure. I'm not sure if normalize is the right word. I'm also not sure if that's the goal. You'd have to talk to the trans community.
Right.
But I think it helps in the culture that we live in.
Yeah.
How often do we hear that folks who opposed same-sex marriage, for example, or opposed some other kind of right for the queer community, change their mind over time once they realized that they knew people in the queer community, right? And there's a face, there's a humanity there. And so sometimes I think that well-known people can provide that. It's not quite the same as your neighbor across the street, but there is an element of, I can put a face to this issue, this community that I'm hearing about, that seems really separate from me.
Yeah.
But there it is.
Let me ask you about Portland specifically. First of all, I assume you're a proud Portlander?
I almost 20 years, yes.
Okay, so you've seen how Portland has changed, and I actually remember ballot measure 9. I believe that was in like 90, 91.
The last one was when I moved here. The last one was 97.
So I've seen a lot of those changes.
Yeah.
I was also one of 3,000 couples that got married in 2004 during a very brief period before they put that on hold, and then the Oregon Supreme Court essentially invalidated my marriage license. So I've seen some of these as well. Is this a better time, coming up on 1 year since the Supreme Court's decision enacting same-sex marriage, when you see that there are bathroom bills being passed? It's kind of a state-by-state battle. Are we still in a better place?
I don't know if better is the right word. We're in a different place.
Different place.
The marriage battle was important, and it's important that we've won it, at least at this point, But at the same time, we knew there was going to be backlash.
Yes.
We knew that we haven't arrived. We haven't finished this work. And it's an ongoing. It's not a finished. There is no finish line. It's an ongoing battle. And so I don't necessarily think better or worse. Yeah. It's different. We're in a different place. And we'll just continue to be moving forward.
Do you think that there are some people in the community that felt that when the Supreme Court ruled that was kind of the end of the line, and maybe lost sight of our ongoing, bigger struggle?
Honestly, yeah. And I think for the folks who experienced that, I don't know if they lost sight of the bigger struggle. I think they weren't being affected by the bigger struggle.
Right.
That's when you really get into who's carrying the privilege of not dealing with the daily battles of fearing for your safety, or being fired from your job, or not being hired to begin with, or being thrown out of your house or your home because they weren't experiencing those things. And we do have those folks in our community, and that's just reality.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Okay. Last question for you. If you could send a message to our community, both in Portland and abroad, what would you say to them right now, as far as your hopes and wishes for them?
I would say that I think we're in a moment where we have the opportunity to learn from the divisions of our past, to learn from our history, and to get to know our history. I think that's part of why we still struggle, because we don't know our own history. And we stand on such strength from those who came before us, and we can do whatever we want to do, and we're fully capable of doing that. But we're not going to do that by ourselves. It's going to come from the strength and the unity that we can find as a community to make it happen.
All right, Debra Porta, Pride Northwest. Thanks for coming to Gay News Radio.
You've been listening to Gay News Radio on the GNR Radio Network. Download our mobile app for iPhone and Android today. And have a good gay.